So I want to start out with a question for you this week, and just want to know, when was the last time God has asked you to step out of your comfort zone? When was the last time that God asked you to do something that was scary, that was fearful, that could go wrong in so many ways? I restarted reading the Bible cover to cover. I try to do that, every year, and the fun thing about that is I'll read a story that I've seen, a number of times, and God will reveal some new things about that story or make some things stand out that frankly I didn't notice before. And one of those stories is the Exodus. In the book of Exodus in chapter 14, God has shown me some good things, but he gave me a great reminder that I think would be good for us all to be reminded of, and that is of God's faithfulness. And that his faithfulness doesn't depend on our faithfulness. I think if we're honest, we're all a lot like sheep. We're fearful, we're skittish, we change directions. How many times have you been on your knees praying to the Lord over a situation, freaking out, and then after the fact you're like, why was I freaking out about that? God had it all along. I think if we're honest, we've all experienced moments like that where God shows up. He's shown us his faithfulness over and over and over again, but yet we forget about it. And frankly, that's nothing new. That's our nature. It was the same for the Israelites back in the book of Exodus. So you got the plagues with the Pharaoh, let my people go. Moses leads his people out of Egypt. And then all along this journey, every time they hit a bump in the road, the people start freaking out. Why'd you lead us out of Egypt? You're just trying to kill us. The Lord's trying to punish us, blah, blah, blah. And again, it's easy for me to read the story and think, gosh, they've seen God move in so many ways. Why are they freaking out? When in retrospect, I've seen God move. Why do I freak out? But anyway, there's a story about them crossing the Red Sea that I just want to look at real quick. Here they are at the brink of the promised land. They're at the brink of leaving Egypt and being far enough away that they can truly march towards their promised land. And they're at the brink looking at the Red Sea. There's a massive ocean in front of them, and then up comes behind them Pharaoh and his army. And so it says in Exodus 14, verse 10, it says, when Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. And then what follows is 3 or 4 verses of the Israelites whining and crying out to God. And I love God's response. God is awesome. I think God doesn't get credit for the humor that he has, but I love God's response. God's response was, the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying to me? Exodus 14:15 might be one of the funniest chapters in the world because you can picture it. You got the whole nation of Israel screaming, freaking out. And you got Moses is like, okay, Lord, what's up? You said you were going to, get us out of here. And God looks at Moses and says, why are you crying to me? But he says that because God has already provided all they need. God's already in there tomorrow. God knows how things are going to work out. And what I love, this is what I wanted to get to today, is you go on to chapter 19. You see, God has been leading them through a pillar of fire and a cloud of smoke day and night out of Egypt and leading them to where they need to be. And what I love is it says, then the angel of God, who was going before the host of Israel, moved and went behind them. So what it is, this picture, the angel of God, like God's power, moving from leading them to protecting them. And so I just wonder, what in your life right now do you need that bold confidence that God's got your back? God's got your back. God's got your back not because you're faithful. God's got your back not because you deserve it. God's got your back because he loves you. And I don't know if you're anything like me. I get skittish. I get fearful at things over and over and over. And God is so good that he can just take me by the hand. I got your back. It's all good. We're going to get through this together. God's faithfulness always stands strong. And so I pray that encourages you. If I could invite you, read Exodus 14. It's actually pretty funny, but it's pretty serious. To see how God moved. And we read it so flippantly, like, oh, okay, God parted the ocean, God parted the sea. It's a big deal. and I would invite you to read it with a new set of eyes. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you back next Wednesday.